Tim Schmoyer has a strategy to generate $10,000 for every 1 million YouTube views. I'm going to discuss his strategy, let you know if it works, and compare it to my strategy that generates $10,000 for every 100 YouTube views. So we're going to cover a lot in this video. We're going to cover several things that Tim Schmoyer teaches, and we're going to compare his strategy to my strategy. And then I'm going to demonstrate a tool that will help you pick the titles for your videos that will guarantee that every episode you upload has a built-in audience. To set the stage of one of the principles that Tim teaches, I want to talk about the three main sources of traffic on YouTube. There's search traffic, there's suggested traffic, and there's browse that Tim often calls homepage. Most of browse traffic comes from people viewing your videos from the homepage suggestion. So search, suggested, or homepage. All right, so let me play a clip from Tim.
Like 90% of that traffic is coming from homepage and suggested, not from search.
The reason Tim says that is his focus is on making money from ad revenue. And to make significant money from ad revenue, you need tons and tons of views. So I got an email from Tim. He's actually a good friend of mine. We actually just had a conversation in person. We were at an event together. We talked a couple of weeks ago. But I want to show you an email that he sent out to me, but it was to his entire list. This isn't a personal email. This is like an email to his entire list. So look right here at the beginning. He says, I can't imagine that you're still focusing on growing your YouTube channel by focusing on search. Tags and keywords are definitely not the way to grow on YouTube. He mentions another friend of mine, Jessica Stansberry. She spent years growing her channel by focusing on search. It's not that it didn't work, it did. She got over 100,000 subscribers. It took years, but then she went from making 10K a month to only 1,300 a month. But pay attention to this right here. Her AdSense revenue, right? That's the income that dropped down. Okay, now skipping down a little bit in this email, it says, if you look at YouTube overall, the most traffic comes from suggested, and that's actually true. The next top traffic source is from the homepage, but then there's a really big gap before search. So he's pointing out that search is the smallest amount. He says, just because you rank #1, it doesn't mean that people will click on that video. And the viewer that you get from suggested are more of an interactive viewer compared to search. Now that part I actually disagree with. When you make the videos the right way, and do search the right way, you'll actually get a lot more engagement, have a lot longer watch time. But he says they aren't looking for a quick answer and then trying to get out of there. They're far more likely to view multiple videos and subscribe. That's the type of viewer we want. So we've actually got the same goal, Tim and I there, but he does search quite a lot different than I do. But oh man, that first line and even the subject line, this literally ruined her channel. I started reading, I can't imagine that you're still focusing on growing your YouTube channel by focusing on search. I can't imagine. So let me actually show you the big difference here. Okay, so we're talking about the difference between Tim's strategy and mine. And again, Tim is a good friend of mine and he's helped many clients achieve great amounts of success. But what that looks like is if you get 1 million views, then that typically translates into $10,000, okay? And that's coming from ad revenue and sponsorships, right? This is money that YouTube pays you because of the advertising, or sponsorships like brand deals and things, okay? Now this is with a CPM, that's cost per 1,000 views. This is with a CPM of 10, okay, $10. That means that with 1 million views, you're gonna generate about $10,000 in revenue. Now my strategy, you need 100 views and you're gonna generate that same $10,000 in revenue. Now how do you do that? Well, at the end of our videos, let's say we're just getting 100 views. At the end of each episode, we have a call to action where we're giving away a free gift. We give a lot of value in our episodes, then we're giving away a free gift if they click the link below, right? And when they do that, they become a lead. They enter their name and their email, sometimes their phone number and address. Typically, we're generating 10 leads for every 100 views on our videos. 10 leads is pretty valuable. And when we nurture them and we reach out to them to have a strategy session, that's what SS stands for here, strategy session, we're typically having 3 out of every 10 leads. So we're having 3 conversations from 100 views, and when we have conversations with them, we're selling a $10,000 program. That's pretty common between me and the clients that follow this strategy. A $10,000 program is typically, you'll sell 30% of your people. So if you have conversations with 3 people, you have 1 sell of $10,000. So it's not that Tim's strategy doesn't work, it just needs way more views than it does with my strategy here. So we're just not comparing apples to apples. So Tim also teaches this about search.
But the downside is that those people are usually looking for something very specific. And when you look at your audience retention and your average view durations and things from those people, you will see that those view durations tend to be among the shortest of all the traffic sources. Maybe they click on your video, but then they're scrubbing ahead looking for just like that 10-second thing that they really need, and then they're out.
So here's the difference and why that doesn't apply to my strategy. Tim is talking about getting your video to rank for short keyword phrases, such as real estate investing. That's only 3 words. Or parenting, or corporate culture. That's only 1 word or 2 words. So when Tim says,
but the downside is that those people are usually looking for something very specific.
That's actually a huge advantage for us. If people are searching for something very specific, then make your episode about something very specific. When they find exactly what they're searching for, they watch the episode all the way to the end. So we go after long keyword phrases like this. So if we're going after real estate or real estate investing, how to start an Airbnb business without money, or how to use business credit to get your first Airbnb. Do you see how long and specific these are? What about examples for parenting? How to discipline a teenager that won't listen, or how to avoid power struggles with your child. How to teach emotional intelligence to your kids. These are actual titles that we've used on YouTube and they worked, and I'm going to show you in a minute how we found them. One more example, corporate culture. How to keep company culture while working from home. Oh, I love how specific that is. How to hold managers accountable for employee engagement. These are so awesome. I mean, this one's talking about company culture, 2 words. Somebody might use that as a keyword. That's not what we're talking about. This is the entire phrase. We're using that as the title for your episode. Okay, so all of those phrases, the 8, 9, 10 word phrases that I showed you, the key is I didn't make those up. I did keyword research. I'm going to show you the tool that I use. So I did keyword research and found that these have consistent search volume every month. Okay, so let me come back to the chart here. I'm going to take the words discipline teenager. Okay, so that's what I'm going to type in here. I do a search for that. I turn on the questions button. I typically set my word count at 8 or higher. And look, that one that we found, how to discipline a teenager that won't listen, that one's the first one that came up. But you can see that there's a lot of unique titles in here that relate to that. I mean, how to discipline a teenager who doesn't care, or how to discipline a teenager for talking back. These are golden. So Tim mentions a disadvantage of homepage traffic.
The disadvantage to homepage traffic, though, is that they tend to surface content that has been published more recently, content that is newer and more fresh. And so you can get a big spike of traffic from the homepage, and it might last a day, a couple days, maybe even a couple weeks, and then it tends to dissipate and go away.
The opposite happens with search traffic. The search traffic actually increases over time. Your videos become evergreen. And if you film hundreds of videos over several years, instead of the most recent videos getting you views, you have an army of hundreds of videos bringing you views every single day and generating new business and new leads every single day.
A lot of people are using your keywords. Millions of people maybe have used that keyword.
So how do I know all this stuff about YouTube? Well, I actually know a lot more. I've written a book on how to leverage YouTube to generate leads for your business, and I want to give this to you for free. I've put 2 years into putting all my strategy into this book. I'm known as the guy that can help you generate $10,000 from only 100 views, whereas all other YouTube experts, they teach you how to generate millions of views to make $10,000. So if you want to learn how to leverage YouTube in that way, go to natesyoutubebook.com. Now what you'll find there, I expect you to cover the costs. So the cost to print this full color book and the cost to ship, but no profit to me. That's my gift to you.